Hey, good afternoon, Money Masters. I hope that you guys are doing well. It brings me great pleasure to be here every Thursday speaking to you all, Money Masters and Kingdom Wealth Builders. Listen, as you are joining the broadcast, let me know who you are, where you are watching from, and hopefully, if this platform with StreamYard allows me to see your comments, I will certainly acknowledge you. Well, listen, you're tuned in to the Wealth Seed. I am Lexi Johnson. I'm an international speaker. I am a licensed financial coach and strategist. I am a missions leader. I am so many things, right? So many things, but most importantly, just a child of God. That is it. That is it. Okay. All these titles. Yeah. I'm just a child of God who happens to be very passionate about kingdom citizens building their wealth. That's what I'm passionate about. Right. So this is episode 53. And today we're going to be talking about causes for your cash flow problems. Right. And why are we talking about this? Well, you can't build wealth if you don't have a handle on your cash flow. You can't build wealth if you don't have a good system in place to manage the cash that you have coming in and the cash that you have going out, right? Without having that system in place, you can't build wealth. You can try, but it will not succeed, right? So we're going to be talking about that today. But before we get into our topic, we are going to be discussing our kingdom money moments, right? Our kingdom money moment. And so I have a question for you all today. And for those who have been following me for some time, you know, okay, not to come to any of my broadcasts without your notebook, okay, and something to write with so that you can take notes. So those of you who are new, welcome, first of all. But make sure you have something to take notes with, okay? So here is the question that I have for you today. And the question is this: as a kingdom citizen, okay, are you treating God as king over your assets? Are you treating him as Lord over your assets? Whatever it is that you have, are you treating him as Lord over your assets? Or are you only treating him like a financial consultant, right? Where sometimes you might talk to him about your money, and even in the times when you do talk to him about your money, you are the one actually giving him tips. You are the one actually giving him advice on what to do with your money. You are the one who is actually saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do, God. Okay, now go bless it, right? We really need to seriously sit and think about that question. It's a good one. It's a really good one. So I want you to write it down and I want you to reflect on it. The truth of the matter is that we don't own anything. We don't own anything. And I am going to share a couple of scriptures with you. That is, if I can find them again. I think I lost them. All right, hold on. Hold on one second. Oh, that's because I'm looking on the wrong device. All right, here we go. All right, so Psalm 24:1, this is the New Living Translation. It says, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all its people belong to him. Okay. Someone says, absolutely not. I'm being more like an irresponsible child, to be honest. Thank you for your honesty, right? Listen, I don't have it all together either, right? There are still some mistakes that I make. And so, being honest with ourselves and with God is where it all begins, right? Thank you so much. God is definitely great. God is definitely great. So if you're just joining, we are in our Kingdom Money moment, and I asked a question. And the question was, are you treating God Like he is the Lord of your assets. He is the Lord over everything that you have, everything that you own, even all the money that you have coming in. Are you treating him like that he is the Lord over your assets, or are you merely consulting him, right? And you are not even getting advice from him. You are telling him what's going on, right? Going to him and saying, "Hey, Lord, I'm going to do this. Now go ahead and bless it," right? So we have to know, if we want to build wealth and we want to do it God's way, we have to know, first of all, that we don't own anything. So I just read Psalm 24:1 that tells us that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, right? The world and all its people belong to him. Hello, Brother Maycock. Good to see you. Um, and there are other scriptures that will say the same thing. Like in First Chronicles, I believe it's chapter 29, verse 11 to 17. Talks about God's greatness and his power and his glory and all of these things. And it ends by saying that the kingdom belongs to you, Lord. And before it says the kingdom belongs to you, it also says, because everything in heaven and on earth belongs to him. So even this money that you go out and you work for does not belong to you. It all belongs to God. Listen, and I know we are taught, hey, 10% of it belongs to God. That's a whole nother subject for another day, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's not 10% that belongs to God. It's 100% that belongs to God. Okay. And so when we come to him about money matters, we need to be coming to him humbly. We need to be coming to him, treating him as the owner of it all that he is. And we need to make sure that we are sharing, that we are saying, Lord, this is what I want to do, but what do you want me to do? In every area, everything that we're spending on, right? How do you want me to manage this? Because that's who we are. We are stewards. Okay. We're not the owners. We are stewards. That's who we are. Okay. And so we're supposed to be carrying out the owner's wishes, if you will. Okay. Now, many owners would just be like, overall, this is what I would like to see. And you have the ability to, you have some freedom to move within that, so long as you meet the purpose. And that's the way that, that's the way that God is. He doesn't like clamp us down, right? But we need to be seeking his will. What is his will? And then we need to be making decisions in alignment with that. So that's our kingdom money moment for today. Now let's get on to our topic. Our topic for today, causes of your cash flow problems. Okay, we're going to talk about some causes for your cash flow problems. Now, this is relevant to you, whether you own a business or don't own a business. All these reasons that we're going to be discussing are all relevant. And so again, I hope you have your notebooks. I want you to write these things down. Okay. So we're going to talk about the issues today, but then guess what? Next week, we're going to talk about how do we resolve these issues, right? So, yes, let's get to it. All right. So one of the reasons that causes cash flow problems, and let me just say this before I get into the reasons, because I don't want to assume that everybody really understands what cash flow means, and it's not like it's super hard or technical or anything like that, but I always want to make sure that people understand. So cash flow really is simply the money coming in and the money going out. And is it enough? Is it being managed properly? Those types of things, right? So it's the money coming in and the money going out. That's what it is. Okay. Cash coming in, cash going out. And so many people are experiencing cash flow problems. Okay. And it can cause stress. It can cause, and then that stress can manifest into physical things like headaches, and even worse, right? Like heart attacks and things like that. And so this is why we want to develop a plan, okay, that helps you to solve your cash flow issues. And so with many of the private clients that I work with, this is like one of the very first things that we're doing. Okay. Yep. You want to invest. Yes. You want to go get this home. Yes. You want to do all of these great things. But let's first solve the cash flow problem, because if you don't resolve the cash flow problem, then going whatever else that you're going to do, whether it's get a home, whether it's invest, you're trying to create wealth, whatever else you're going to try and do, it's not going to work. Okay. It is not going to work. All right. So we want to talk about some of the biggest causes of cash flow problems. Okay. So why are we talking about this? Because we need to know. Some of us don't even realize that these things are contributing to our how our cash is flowing. Okay. All right. So the first reason that I want to share with you is avoiding an emergency fund. Okay. Avoiding an emergency fund. So whether whether you're having cash flow problems in your business or whether you're having cash flow problems in your personal finances, avoiding emergency funds is a huge issue as to why people are having cash flow problems. Okay. For whatever reason, we know emergencies can happen. We know emergencies do happen, yet we do not prepare for the expected unexpected, if you will. Why am I calling it expected unexpected? Because we know stuff happens. We know emergencies happen. Okay. We may not be able to be like, know exactly when or how it'll happen, but they happen. Then there are some things that we will say are unexpected, but they aren't really. They are just things that we did not pay attention to when they were a smaller issue, and now it has become a huge issue. And because it's become a huge issue, it's causing a huge cash flow issue, right? So we need to be prepared for the unexpected, okay? There are many, many statistics, both in business and in personal finances, that say that if a business owner or if a person was faced with an emergency, okay, and not only were they faced with an emergency, actually before the emergency even happens, if they were faced with declining income, business or personal, okay, that it would cause a huge problem for business owners. They would have to close down. For personal finances, people would they would be upside down, right? And this is because people have not prepared for emergencies. Okay. So in order to avoid cash flow problems, you want to make sure that you have an emergency fund. I've talked greatly about emergency funds. You can just do a search for the Wealth Seed emergency funds. You're going to find several videos that have covered emergency funds because they are extremely, extremely important. Okay. If you could have a high tax bill, you could have, that's business or personal, right? You can have some issues going on with equipment. You can have all kinds of things going on. And so you want to make sure that you build your emergency fund. You start doing that by figuring out how much you're going to need. Okay. And whether business or personal, I'm always saying, hey, the very first goal is to get to 3 months of your expenses, right? That's like the very first, get to 3 months and then build to 6 and then build to 9, right? And then build to 12 because we just never know. All right. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these causes. The emergency fund, like I said, I've done tons of videos on those, but this is a huge reason why people have cash flow problems. And some people will say, well, I don't have money to save, after paying everything, after, taking care of this stuff, I just don't have the money to save. And here's what or people will say they don't make enough, right? And so here's what I say to that. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. And what I also say is, I'm thinking 99.9% of the time, okay, because we don't ever want to say 100% of anything, but 99.9% of the time when I sit down with a private client and we are going through looking at where their money, what's coming in and where their money is going, people have plenty money to put into an emergency fund, okay? They're just not managing their funds appropriately. There is a lot of waste. Okay. And so again, you might say, well, I don't have, a job that pays me a whole lot, where I can begin to put money aside. No, it's really about prioritizing. That's all. It's really about prioritizing. Okay, so let's keep it moving. So I talked about the emergency fund being a huge issue. The lack of having one, okay, causes cash flow problems because when the emergency comes, now you've got to dig into something else. Maybe it's a bill that needed to be paid, both personal finances or your business. Now you got to take money from a bill, or that money has to come from somewhere, or God forbid you go get a loan, okay, and you think, oh, at some point I'll catch up and I'll pay this, but you don't have any real plan. Nothing is changing in your income, any of that, right? So you create big holes for yourself just because you don't have it. All right. So let's go to the next one. The next one is not allocating. Okay. Not allocating. All right, Lexi, what the heck is allocating? Okay. Allocating is a system that allows you to be the master of your money. It allows you to dictate to your money where your money is going instead of the other way around. Most people, when they have money that comes in, when they have income that comes in, it's already, you've already got a million things tugging at you. These bills over here, this person needs that, children over here, or you got business expenses, and or I took out a song, got to pay that. Like the money is already, right? It's already spent. This is what people say. Oh, that way it's already spent, right? Ain't even here yet. It's already spent, right? And that's because of decisions that you keep making, right? That has you on this hamster wheel. Okay, so you have to sit down, take the time to allocate. What exactly does that mean? When I work with my private clients, we allocate in 4 areas. Okay, there's 5 technically. You have the income coming all in. You have your income, all the money that comes in. Okay, that's one area. Hi, Janet. Good to see you. Thank you for joining me all the way from Ghana. You have you have all your money that's coming in. And then there are 4 other areas, major areas, that I'm like, okay, you need to sit down ahead of time and determine what percentage of your income is going to these different areas. So what are the areas? One is what I call your profit account. Okay. Now, this system, if you will, I adapted from, there's this book called Profit First out there by Mike Michalowicz. It is for businesses, okay, but the concept can translate into personal finances. So anyway, what is your profit account? It's simply your pay yourself first account, okay? That concept has been around for ages. All right. I remember my parents telling me when I was growing up, hey, you got to pay yourself first. The truth of the matter is, though, is that we don't truly pay ourselves first. We pay everything else, and then we look at paying ourselves first, right? So you have to determine, okay, what percentage of my income is going to go to paying myself first? And paying yourself first, we're not talking about, going to get that Birkin bag, or going to get, the latest shoes, or the latest, car, the latest whatever gadget you want to get, or going on the latest, going on a trip, a vacation, or something like that. That's not paying yourself first. Okay. That's another category. I'm talking about, this is the allocation where you are investing, where your emergency fund is, where your opportunity fund is, and where your life insurance is, right? Over the next few weeks, we're going to be breaking these things down. Okay. So don't worry about, trying to understand it all. Just take notes on the high level of what I'm talking about today. But over the next few weeks, we're going to be breaking these things down. So that is your profit account. So you need to be determining, well, what percentage of my income should be going towards that? Okay. The next area, and these aren't in any particular order, and they're not in any particular order because they're in allocation. Okay. So the next area is your household expenses. Okay. Or if it's in your business, it's your overhead, right? And your business expenses, right? Your operating expenses. Household expenses are operating expenses. Okay. So there is a certain percentage that you should be saying from the top. I don't care what I make this month, what money is coming in, a percentage of that is going towards this. Okay. This one, when you set these up, I like to do allocations by percentages, because when you do that, it doesn't matter the income that's coming in. Your income could be the same every time you get paid, or your income can be all over the place. If you own a business from month to month, especially when you're starting out, it can be all over the place, right? So you have an allocation that says, okay, this is the percentage of my income that is going towards household expenses, or on the business side, that's going to um, operating expenses. Okay. Then the next area is giving. Okay. This is huge, especially for Kingdom citizens. All right. This is another area where we just don't really think about too much. Some of us may consistently give to our churches. Outside of that, we may not be necessarily giving to the poor like God calls us to give to the poor. Giving to the church and giving to the poor are not the same thing. That's a whole nother conversation. But um, that's where we are. You should have an allocation for that as well. Okay. So whether you're giving money to your church, you're giving money to charity, you're giving money to someone that you see on the street, hey, that should be allocated. That should be preset. That should be predetermined, right? You're not haphazardly doing anything with your money. Hello, Victor. Thank you for watching all the way from Kenya. So everything is set ahead of time. Are you guys kind of seeing how this works, right? So you have your giving, okay, category. The next category, the fourth category that you have is your discretionary. Okay. What is discretionary? Discretionary is the things that you just want to do. You don't need these things. You're not obligated to get these things. They're just things that you want to do. Okay. So that vacation once a year or twice a year or however often you go. Getting the hair done, getting the nails done, that Birkin bag, the perfumes, the this, the that, the whatever, the stuff that we want, but we don't absolutely need, right? So that is what discretionary is. And there is a percentage of your income that should be going towards that. Okay. Now, the percentages can vary from household to household, from business to business. They can vary, but not too much. I'm not getting into any of those percentages today. You're going to have to come back next time for that. But these are the areas. Okay. So you've got all of your income that comes in. Okay. That's one area, your income. It all comes in. And these can all be separate accounts that you have. That's a discussion for another week too. But you have your income. Then you've got your pay yourself first category. Okay. Then you've got your household expenses or your operating expenses category. Then you've got your giving, and then you've got your discretionary. These are the major categories. Okay. These are the major categories. And then within those allocations, you begin to put the line items that go with those allocations. Okay, so for example, operating expenses, you paying rent for a building or something like that. You have an office that you're paying rent for, or a mortgage on, or whatever. That would go under your operating expenses. For your household, right? You're paying the house note would go under there. Maybe you have a security system that you pay for monthly, that would go under there, right? So you begin to go through everything that you spend in a month, and you categorize them based on those categories that I've just given you. Okay. Now, once you've done that and you've assigned percentages to these categories, now you are starting to take control of the money. Okay. And the money is not dictating to you where it's going and what it's doing. You are in control. Okay. And when you are following these allocations, then you're never short in any area. I know that seems like really crazy. You're never short in any area. That's how it works. You're never short in any area. Okay. And if you are short, it's because you're operating outside of the allocations that were set. Okay. But if you set your allocations and you follow them, discipline yourself and follow them, you're never short in any area. All right. So um, you want to make sure that you're allocating. Okay. Now, the next thing we're talking about causes of cash flow problems. So we've talked about the lack of having an emergency fund, and now we talked about allocating. Okay. The next is budgeting, which I alluded to already. You're going to budget within the allocation. So that's what I was saying, where you take every line item, every expense that you have, you put it in the proper category, and then you make sure that you budget those things so that they are not outside of the allocation that you assigned for that area. Okay. Um, Lexi, why can't I just budget? Why do I have to allocate and then budget? Well, if you listen, there are so many people who are budgeting and they are still not financially free. We're budgeting because that's what we're taught to do, right? And it's not necessarily a wrong thing to do, but budgeting alone is not what helps you to become a master of the money that you've been given by God. Okay. It doesn't help you to become the effective steward that He wants you to become, not by itself. Okay. If that were the case, again, I've seen people, I've been doing this a long time. Anytime I work with my private clients and they walk in, some of them, granted, don't have a budget at all, but many of them have some type of budget, right? And it's not working. Okay. So you cannot do, you know, you can't just do budgeting. Okay. You have to allocate, and then you've got a budget within your allocations. Okay. Now, another cause, good afternoon, Teacher Blanche, good to see you. Another cause of cash flow issues. Okay. So we talked about the lack of having an emergency fund. We talked about allocating. Then we talked about budgeting within allocations. Okay. You're not doing these things. That's why you are having some issues with your cash flow. It's never about how much money you make or don't make. It's never about that. It doesn't matter what you make. If you allocate properly, you got an emergency fund, you allocate properly, you budget within those allocations, you'll be fine. Okay. I'm not saying you can have everything you want at that point, but then you put a plan in place to continue to make progress, right? So the next is your receivables. Okay. Now, if you own a business, it's called, your receivables, your income. People are purchasing your service or your product. Okay. If we're talking about in our personal finances, your receivables are what? Simply your paycheck, right? Some people may have other forms of income. I don't know, child support, alimony, yada, yada, yada. Okay. But we're talking about the money that's coming in. Okay. The money that's coming in, it's very important to understand when it's coming in, right? So that you can make sure that your payables, right, are in alignment with when money is coming in, okay? Particularly in business, right? You want to be very, very strategic about that, okay? You want to be strategic about the fact that, okay, I've got bills being paid on this month, or you can set up your payables, right? As much as possible in my business, if any bills are going out, if anything is going out, there are 2 days in the month that I have set aside for everything that needs to go out. Okay. This way, I know that, okay, I need to have, if I'm bringing on new clients or whatever the case may be, then I'm very strategic. I need to have new clients coming in this part of the month on these days, whatever, so that I meet payables, right? And the same in your personal finances. It can be the same setup, right? Having your bills going out on certain days of the month, 2 days, right, of the month, as much as possible, being able to structure that. A lot of places now will tell you you can choose the day of the month that you want to pay certain things on, right? So do that. Be very strategic about that so that, when the income drops, then it's in time for the things that are going out. Okay. When you own a business, the other thing that you have to take into consideration is customers who pay late. Okay. It can happen. It does happen. People go through things, and so they pay late, or you may have customers that just drop off, right? For whatever reason, they abandon. Okay. We hope not, right? And we try to put measures in place to prevent those things. Okay. But you want to make sure that you have a handle on that, and you want to make sure that you are being very strategic about those things. Okay. We could talk about all the different ways of doing that. There's so many ways. You can ask for deposits. You can ask for full payment up front. You can offer things like afterpay, or some kind of uh, pay later, system that gives you all the money up front, and now it's on that third party to collect month to month or week to week from that person or whatever. So there are ways that you can do that. Okay. In personal finances, you, again, understanding, when your income is coming. Sometimes some people work for, believe it or not, some people work for companies where the pay isn't as regimented as it should be. I hate to say it, but it does happen. I have witnessed it with my own eyes. Okay. That a company is supposed to be paying biweekly, and they will pay, and then they say, well, hold the check for a few days. And then, I've seen crazy things. Okay. So we have to be prepared for those types of things. All right. What else causes cash flow problems? What else causes cash flow problems? Uncontrolled growth, both in business and in your personal life. Okay. So let's talk about business first. Uncontrolled growth. All right. Scaling too fast. Okay. Making, because you're trying to scale too fast and you're making purchases, big purchases or whatever to help scale, but it's just too fast. Okay. Because when you scale, you got to think about, now, do I need more employees or contractors, or however you do? Do you need more equipment, better equipment? Do you need a larger office space or a larger building? Are your shipping increases going to increase? All of these things that you have to begin to think about when you're talking about scaling. So you have to prepare, okay? Prepare for your growth. Create a plan so that you can, the growth can be controllable and not just out of control. Okay. So yeah, that's that. I'll leave that there for the business. Now, in your personal finances, what do we mean by uncontrolled growth? Okay. Well, I can mean, let's say you get a new job. Okay. And you get a significant increase in your pay, or it could be the same job, but you get a significant increase in your pay. Maybe you got a new position, you got promoted, whatever, a great review, which usually doesn't yield that. But whatever the reason is, you got this significant increase in your pay. Now, because you have this significant increase, now you start going out and getting things. Well, I need a better car. I need a better apartment or house. I know I'm going to do vacations that I wasn't doing before. Like all of a sudden, you start doing all of these other things because you got this significant increase in your pay, right? And then guess what? You end up being in the same boat that you were in when you had less pay, right? There's actually a name to this syndrome, and I can't think of it right now, but there's actually a name to this. It's like the more money you make, the more you spend. The more you make, the more you spend. And it should be the more you make, right? You doesn't have to be the less you spend, but you should at least just maintain that lower level of spending for a little bit. Okay. Um, Pad yourself some before you start to make all these other jumps, right? But it's very easy for us to do that. We see, oh, we got this money coming in, so I'm going to go and upgrade my car, upgrade my this, upgrade my that, go get 2 and 3 cars instead of just, kicking it with this one car for a little bit, right? So uncontrolled growth will lead to cash flow issues, okay? These are the most significant ones that will lead to cash flow issues. That's all we're going to talk about today. You can probably on your own think of some other things, but let me review them really quickly for you, and then we're going to get out of here. So the first was the lack of having an emergency fund. Okay. The second was not allocating. Okay. The lack of allocating. The third was lack of budgeting within the allocations. The fourth was your receivables, right? Not being strategic about how your income is coming in, when it's coming in, so that you can also be strategic about your payables. And then the last one we talked about is uncontrolled growth, both. And again, all of these, it could be in your business or it could be in your personal finances. Okay. There's one more that I want to give you. I'm trying to decide whether I should give it or not. Okay, I'll give you a bonus one. This one though is just for people in your business. Make sure you're paying yourself a salary. Okay. Because when you get to the point that maybe your business is strapped for cash, then you can pull back and not necessarily pay yourself a salary. It's almost like this sub emergency fund kind of thing. But pay yourself a salary. Okay. Pay yourself a salary. And just pay yourself a salary. Okay. Cash flow problems can be a really big stressor. But yeah, just do that. Okay. Just do it. Okay. That'll help you in your business and in your personal finances. Janice says, very educated. I hardly pay myself first. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Most of it, we say it, but we don't do it, and we don't do it in the proper way. Okay. So that's what we have today. We talked about the causes of cash flow issues. Next week, come back next week. We'll begin to talk about how we resolve a little bit deeper in resolving these cash flow issues. Particularly, I'm going to be talking about, because I've done enough on emergency funds. Okay. There's enough videos out there on that, but I'm going to be talking about allocating. Okay. And those 4 major categories that I talked about, we're going to be breaking those down. I think I'll probably do 1 category per episode. And then we'll go from there. We'll see how things go. We'll go from there. Okay. Thank you for joining me on today. Listen, in the description, if you want to know what else is going on in the world of money mastery for her, we've got a lot going on. We have a mission trip coming up if you want to be part of that. We've got a Bible study, women's Bible study coming up in March if you want to be part of that. If you could not participate in our corporate fast at the beginning of the year, you can still do it, and you can do it on your own. We've saved all the teachings, all of that. That is in the description, and so many other things. If you want our merch, our Unshakable merch, link there for all of that. Look at that merch. It's all kind of stuff that you can get. So anyway, that's that. You guys have an amazing rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you next time on the Well Seat. God bless.